to be dead in NWF area because of hunger, diseases such as diarrhea, and related diseases had broken out in relief camps. Also, floodwater are entering to the grid station, which are cutting off electricity in many areas. People are washing away. Yes, situation is not very good at the moment in the ground.
And how are you getting aid to places like the Swat Valley that's actually been cut off? There are reports from the field that water is receding in many places. So, but the road transports are still not working there. So what we are doing is our aid workers are working for hours to get into the villages which were cut off and delivering aids. Sometimes it's very hard. You know, the weather condition is not that much favorable, but we are keep trying. And is this, as Oxfam is calling it, actually a mega disaster?
It is indeed a mega disaster. It's been, according to the latest figure, around 20 million people have been affected. And I guess you have seen the Ban Ki-moon's very emotional statement, which he said he has never seen such disaster in his life. But the unfortunate thing is aids are not that much flowing in the country that it should have.
Mubashar Hassan from Oxfam in Islamabad, thank you very much for joining us. A strike by workers at car plants across South Africa is showing no signs of resolution. The Employees Union wants a 15% pay increase, but manufacturers say the demand is unrealistic. Sky's Justin Bazanki has the details.
With singing reminiscent of anti-apartheid demonstrations, these workers at a Volvo and Ford plant were in no mood to compromise. In addition to the pay rise, they want a standard 8-hour working day, double pay for Sundays and public holidays, and extra training during working hours.
With this money that you are getting paid, we don't survive with it. That is why we are fighting for the interest.
The Automobile Manufacturers Employers Organisation says the demands would result in an actual wage bill increase of 30% per employee. It claims they do not take into account the highly competitive nature of the global auto industry. No new cars have been made in the country since Wednesday. A headache for local dealers maybe, but a nightmare for the industry. About half of the 420,000 cars made in the country are exported to other African states, Europe and the USA. But despite the threat to a sector that forms nearly 7% of the country's economy, union leaders remain defiant.
They have not reached a settlement. There have been proposals that have been made, and parties are engaging and considering such proposal from employers and even from NOMSA also as the workers' organization. So at the moment there's no resolution.
Taken in isolation, the workers' average monthly wage of 6,400 Rand or $874 may seem low. But when you consider that the official average monthly wage for a city worker in China is just $263, then this protest may only be driving away future investment in South Africa's motor industry. Justin Bazanki, Sky News.
A robbery suspect's been cornered by a fleet of police cars following a high-speed chase which closed a freeway in California. The male driver and his female passengers were seen weaving in and out of traffic. These pictures were captured by a police helicopter flying overhead. One of the tyres of the pickup truck blew out, and when the driver slowed down, police moved in and made their arrest. And with all that police firepower bearing down on him, he decided, not surprisingly, to come out with his hands up. 2 astronauts have managed to fix a cooling problem on the exterior of the International Space Station. Flight engineers Doug Wheelock and Tracy Dyson had to install a spare ammonia pump after the last one failed 2 weeks ago. The pump is crucial in preventing the station from overheating. Now, lions and tigers don't usually mix well. In fact, they tend to want to rip one another apart on the rare occasions that they do meet. But this is the result of one harmonious pairing of a male lion and a tigress in Taiwan, a pair of baby leaguers. Mum, Beauty, and the dad, called Simba, produced 3 cubs, and these 2 survived. The unlikely parents have shared a cage since they were young and have been mating for 3 years.
Tony Blair has pledged to donate all profits from his upcoming memoirs to the Royal British Legion to help injured servicemen and women. The gift, thought to be up to £5 million, will be the biggest single donation the organisation has ever received. But anti-war campaigners say no amount of money will wash the blood from the former British Prime Minister's hands. Sky's Paul Harrison reports.
Writing my memoir, A Journey, has been a fascinating and enjoyable experience. I set out to write a book which would give the reader an insight into the human as well as the political dimensions of life as a Prime Minister.
Tony Blair's already online promoting his memoirs, and at £25 a copy, his 700-page book was expected to net him healthy royalties, all on top of an advance worth a reported £4.6 million. But it seems the former Prime Minister come Middle East envoy has turned philanthropist. He'll donate all proceeds to the Royal British Legion.
Also, perhaps draw out some lessons about what it's like to be a political leader in difficult and challenging times.
For difficult, read perhaps witnessing sacrifices by the armed forces. All proceeds will fund a centre similar to this one for seriously injured personnel. The Battleback Challenge Centre is due to open in 2012.
Absolutely delighted. This is a very good cause to support those who have been injured in current conflicts and during peacetime activities in their service of the armed forces.
But is this just a financial footnote in the bigger Blair story? Well, he has a number of highly paid jobs. A £2.5 million a year deal with JP Morgan to explore business opportunities in Libya. He gets £500,000 a year from Zurich Financial Services. And his new role with hedge fund firm Lansdowne Partners is expected to net him £250,000. Add to this the fact he can command from £50,000 to £170,000 for accepting any number of speaking engagements per year, and his prime ministerial pension of around £65,000, and Mr Blair is thought to earn up to £9 million a year. Small change or otherwise, some argue his donation merely amounts to guilt money, designed to appease his own conscience over taking Britain to war in Iraq.
For a man who, when he was at the Iraq inquiry, at the very end, was given an opportunity to say whether he had any regrets about any aspect of the war in Iraq, was unable to say sorry, makes it very difficult for me to believe that he's doing this simply with a good heart. I'm sure that he has a conscience, and one wonders whether in fact it is a guilty conscience that has made him do this.
What's more, he'll be here at Waterstones in Piccadilly on September the 8th to publicise his book and sign a few copies. But even that will come at a cost. The security bill to the taxpayer could rise to in excess of £100,000. Tony Blair had a hard time selling the war to the public. He may have more luck selling his memoirs now that those who'll benefit are the ones who sacrificed the most. Paul Harrison, Sky News.
This is Sky World News, and these are the top stories. Israel's military and Palestinian leaders have united in condemning a former Israeli soldier who published images on Facebook showing her posing with bound and blindfolded Palestinian prisoners. The UN is warning that more than 3.5 million children in Pakistan could now be affected by waterborne diseases spread by the country's floods. And a German pop star has broken down in tears in court as she admitted having unprotected sex with 4 men while knowing she was HIV positive. Now, time for a look at our currencies, followed by our markets. American stocks have remained almost static, suggesting that even several days of losses haven't convinced investors share prices are attractive. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 1.14 points to close at 10,302.01. Time now for a look at Summit TV.
Hello and good morning. I'm Jennifer Sue for Summit TV, and here's a look at how the bourses were last trading across the African continent. In southern Africa, Botswana's domestic index was trading 0.33% weaker. South Africa's all-share index gained 0.5%, and the LUSC in Zambia was down 0.39%. Over to West Africa, where Ghana's all-share gained 0.43%, Ivory Coast Composite was 0.33% firmer, and Nigeria's all-share gained 0.69%. Let's take a look at East Africa, where Kenya's NSE was up 0.83%, Mauritius Semdex was slightly weaker, and Uganda's Composite was 1.25% in the red. Taking a look at the currencies this morning, in southern Africa, $1 buys you 6.71 Botswana Pula, 7.26 South African Rands, and 4,890 Zambian Kwacha. Over to West Africa, where you pay 1.41 Ghanaian Cedi a dollar, just more than 503 Ivory Coast francs, and 148 Nigerian Naira for the greenback. And finally, in East Africa, you'll get about 78 Kenyan shillings for a dollar, 28.75 Mauritian rupees, and more than 2,185 Ugandan shillings for $1. And that's a quick look at your African markets and currencies from Johannesburg. It's now back to you at the Sky News Centre in London.
The former France captain Patrice Evra and 4 teammates will attend a disciplinary hearing today for their role in the infamous walkout at the World Cup. They face sanctions ranging from lifetime international bans to a mere reproof. All 23 of France's players boycotted a training session at the tournament to protest against Nicolas Anelka's expulsion from the squad after he had insulted the coach Raymond Domenech. Sky's Ian Doveston reports.
The moment when the World Cup descended into farce for the French. Raymond Domenech, now the former France coach, pursued by the cameras after sending striker Nicolas Anelka home, and the rest of his players staged a walkout. What a far cry from their famous victory on home soil 12 years earlier.
It was painful because suddenly, we had spoiled brats in front of us, refusing to actually train. Can you imagine this? I mean, some of them are paid £800,000 a month. I mean, that's 5 centuries of the minimum wage. And they say no. And just to actually in support of Anelka, who actually said very, very rude words, which I'm not going to say now, but to the French coach.
Scheduled to face the French Football Federation today are those identified as ringleaders. Anelka, dispatched for a foul-mouthed tirade at Domenech, along with Eric Abidal and Jeremy Toulalan. Frank Ribéry has also been invited but has been refused permission to attend by his club Bayern Munich. It's thought the captain Patrice Evra wants his say and will attend. Defender Evra was on Manchester United duty at Old Trafford last night as his club opened its Barclays Premier League season against Newcastle United. Now, England's World Cup performance was, of course, dismal and ended in much recrimination, though some amount of national pride was salvaged with a friendly victory over Hungary here at Wembley last week. England did manage to avoid the mantle of World Cup laughingstock, thanks principally to the efforts of France. While Fabio Capello stuck with most of his England regulars, France's new austere coach Laurent Blanc dropped all 23 of the men who failed their country. Domenech has already faced the wrath of the French Parliament and now, having lost his position as coach, must account for France's World Cup embarrassment once more. Ian Doveston, Sky News.
This is Sky World News. Coming up in the showbiz, how Angelina Jolie found life imitating art in her latest film. We're at the premiere.
If you've never got over your first love...
It was utterly thrilling.
What happens when it's rekindled?
I felt like I was back 20 years ago. There's some bits I'm just finding really difficult to master.